UFC 303 takes place this Saturday, June 29th, and today I want to give my breakdown and my predictions for the fights on the main card. I don't have the time to delve through every single matchup on this entire card. I just want to stick to the main card today and go into more detail about those fights. I don't really feel like talking about prelim bums. Anyways, there's been a lot of changes in terms of who's fighting who on this card. Even very recently, Carlos Ulberg pulled out and Roman Dolidze took his place. I feel like that was like 3-4 days ago. I don't remember how long ago that was. But yeah, a lot of main card changes, a lot of opponent switches. But now it looks like we're looking at a relatively stable card and hopefully nothing unexpected happens in the next week. Anyways, that's enough of an introduction. Let's kick it off right away with Ian Garry versus Michael Venom Page. Now, I don't want to make the mistake of undermining Ian Garry or doubting Ian Garry just because I dislike him as a person and I find him very annoying like I think most people do. I'm not an Ian Garry fan. I'm actually a very big Ian Garry hater, to be honest with you. I wouldn't say I deserve the number one spot. There's a lot of people who I see online who could probably take that. But I do not like the guy at all. I think he's very cringy. I hope he loses his unbeaten streak, his undefeated record. I hope he loses that O next to his name. I hope he gets knocked clean out. But I will not predict a knockout in this fight. I will take Michael Venom Page to win, not because they dislike Ian Garry. Really, I mean, maybe a slight bias there, but I'm trying to keep as much bias out of it as possible. I think Michael Venom Page simply just is better than Ian Garry. That's number one. Number two, I remember what I wanted to say. I was going to talk about knockouts or not knockouts. I think this is a fight which, regardless of who wins, this is a fight which I can definitely see going the distance. Like 1000% I can see this fight going the distance. I do not see either fighter getting a finish based off of how they fight. I really don't think a finish will occur. So that's something I want to mention. This fight going the distance is like 100% in my eyes, regardless of who the winner is. Now, to talk about why I think the winner will be MVP. If you have two fighters who win by utilizing their range, right? Ian Garry, he just beat Jeff Neal. How did he beat him? By using his range. He wasn't really in the pocket with Jeff Neal. He wasn't really engaging too much. He was backing up on the back foot for most of it. And, you know, I wanna be a hater and say, oh, he was scared, he was running. But if you really kind of think about it, or not think about it, but if you're really unbiased, you're going to say, okay, he was using his range and he was being smart. It's stupid to go in there in the pocket and trade with Jeff Neal like you're going to get knocked out. He fought where he could win, and that's at distance, kicking, punching, and then moving away. Keeping his distance to Jeff Neal, not letting Jeff Neal connect. And yeah, that was basically Ian Garry's strategy. Now, Jeff Neal is a bit stupid, unfortunately, right? So he could close the distance here and there. There were moments in that fight where he was closing the distance. Now, what he would do is he would have Ian Garry backed up against the cage, and he would rush forward with some sort of combination. It would land, but now once it landed, he decides to go for a clinch, and he would start clinching up against the cage and throwing no strikes in the clinch, doing nothing in the clinch, actually, besides wasting everyone's time. I really don't understand why. Like, his whole goal in that fight, or his whole game plan, was, and it should have been if it wasn't, to close the distance, get in the pocket, and knock out Ian Garry. And that's what I expected him to do. Now, I did not take into account that, I did not take into account that Jeff Neal is very stupid. He's very stupid. And he would close the distance. He would actually land. I just watched the fight back. He would land a good combination, land a good overhand. But now he's in the pocket with Ian Garry, and Ian Garry's up on the cage. Instead of throwing anything else, he just clinches and does nothing in the clinch besides waste everyone's time. So I thought it was a very, very stupid game plan from Jeff Neal. Now, Michael Venom Page is not Jeff Neal. Michael Venom Page is not stupid. Michael Venom Page is very good at closing the distance. You see where I'm going now. Ian Garry struggled in the very few times that brickhead Jeff Neal would close the distance. Jeff Neal was doing a lot of dancing like he does. I don't know. I think he has these tics when he fights. Like Dustin Poirier pulls up his shorts. Other fighters do other things. But Jeff Neal, he kind of starts doing like this. He starts moving his arms a bit. Like when he was getting no success, getting pieced up by Ian Garry, he was moving around like this at distance, I guess trying to find his rhythm. And then he would land one combination and then clinch. Very, very stupid from Jeff Neal. Now, Michael Venom Page is not that type of fighter. First of all, he's not going to be trotting forward like Jeff Neal was and getting pieced up. He's going to be sitting back. It's going to be a fight between two guys who kind of want to sit back and use their range. This is why I was talking about the fight going to decision. I can't see a finish happening, right? I feel like this fight could be boring too. It could be a lot of point fighting, right? Like karate style. I'm not really into that, but I feel like that's how the fight's going to be. Two guys leaning back, trying to keep the distance. But out of those two guys, I think Michael Venom Page is a lot better at closing that distance and just making you feel like he's further back than he actually is. And we saw what he did to Kevin Holland, right? And in my eyes, his performance against Kevin Holland is more impressive than Ian Garry's performance against Jeff Neal, which is why I don't understand why Michael Venom Page is an underdog in this matchup. I really don't understand it. In my mind, I think he really proved that, his gimmick or whatever, or his style, isn't just a way that he beats cans in Bellator and that can actually work against high-level fighters in the UFC. And I know Kevin Holland isn't like champ material, but Kevin Holland is still a big name. And everyone was saying leading up to that fight that, Kevin Holland's just going to smoke this guy. This guy's a Bellator bum. Nobody cares about Michael Venom Page. And I was saying no, MVP is going to win. And now that MVP beat Kevin Holland. I'm very, very tired today. Now that MVP beat Kevin Holland, everyone's like, that's Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland sucks. Before it was, Kevin Holland's going to smoke this guy, and now it's Kevin Holland sucks. So it is what it is. I think MVP really proved himself against Kevin Holland. He proved that he can, his style works. He can sit back, make you think he's further back than he actually is, but then when he lands and connects and he closes that distance very fast, it's almost like you don't know what hit you. So I will take Michael Venom Page to win this fight. I think Michael Venom Page will control the fight. I think he will stay back, and then when he will decide when the exchanges occur, essentially. He will decide when him and Ian Garry trade punches. He will keep the range, and then when he sees an opening, he's going to come in with a combination, but then he's going to go back to staying back, and it's going to be that type of thing. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. I woke up very early today, slept very late. Let me actually have a sip of coffee right now. What I'm trying to say is, I think Michael Venom Page will dictate kind of how the fight goes. He will dictate whether or not they're just going to be keeping the... How do I phrase this? Honestly, I don't know why I can't phrase what I'm trying to say here. You get what I'm trying to say, hopefully. Michael Venom Page will initiate the exchanges when he wants to, and when he doesn't want to, he will stay back, and that's how he's going to win the fight by decision. That's my official pick. Let's move the hell on from this freaking fight. I think maybe Ian Garry's annoying face on my screen is tripping me out. Let me move on now to Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Now, I'm not really too passionate about this fight. I will take Anthony Smith heavily due to the fact that this is up a weight class on short notice for Roman Dolidze. So I'm not really that, and I know Anthony Smith sucks, but he's not that bad, okay? Roman Dolidze isn't great either. He's not a great middleweight. So Anthony Smith, speak English here. Anthony Smith is going to have that size advantage, and Roman Dolidze doesn't really have that much skill. I don't see Roman Dolidze winning this on short notice up a weight class. He does not seem like that type of guy. And Anthony Smith is coming off of some momentum with the win against Vitor Petrino. And yeah, I don't see Anthony Smith losing this personally. Up a weight class for Roman Dolidze. Looks bad for Roman Dolidze. I don't think Roman Dolidze is going to pull it off. So I will go with Anthony Smith. Just the short notice up a weight class is a big deal in this matchup. I don't think Roman Dolidze can pull it off. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about this matchup. Not too interested in it otherwise. Anyways, let's move on now to something I'm more interested in, which is Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. Now, Diego Lopes, I believe he is the favorite in this fight. He is a slight favorite. Not that slight. Kind of a decent favorite. Anyways, Diego Lopes is a slight favorite in this matchup. I will take Diego Lopes to win. And honestly, I think he will knock out Brian Ortega pretty badly. And I've been thinking about this fight, and I just can't see Brian Ortega surviving this fight or surviving the first round. Because I think Diego Lopes... I know Diego Lopes has power in his hands, and we've seen it. Like when I was watching UFC 300 and he dropped Sadiq Youssef, I was like, what the hell did he touch him with? So Diego Lopes is a guy who can pack some heat in his hands, and Brian Ortega, although he's coming off of a win, he did not look super impressive against Yair Rodriguez. Let's really kind of nail that point home. People are talking about, Brian Ortega, he just beat Yair, and, he's only really lost to, Volk and Holloway, and everyone's doubting this man. First of all, bro, he lost to Yair once, but that fight, people say it was a fluke or whatever, like fluke injury. Okay, whatever. We don't have to count that fight. in his second fight with Yair Rodriguez. Yair dropped him like a sack of potatoes in the first round and just couldn't finish it, right? Yair kind of threw that fight. If you're getting dropped by Yair in round 1, bro, and you're going to fight Diego Lopes next, I can safely say that Diego Lopes packs more heat in his hands than Yair Rodriguez. I personally do not see Yair Rodriguez as like some sort of knockout power guy, but he dropped Brian Ortega very, very badly. But now you're going against Diego Lopes, who does have that power. He does hit people and make them drop. Diego Lopes, I don't believe he has lost in the UFC other than the Evloev fight, which was short notice for Diego Lopes, a short notice debut against Movsar, and he had a lot of great moments against Movsar in the grappling. I just think that Lopes is like a real prospect. He's not one of those hype jobs. Like, he's not, for example, he's not Shara Putin. No, he's not. What's the guy's name? He's not Shara Magomedov. That's the name. He's not Shara Magomedov. And I don't want to transition into Shara hate because that's not the topic of the video. That's a video for another day. But I think Shara is overrated. I think Ikram was overrated. I mean, everyone thinks that now. But before he fought Whitaker, I didn't really see any hype. I didn't really see any reason to think that Ikram was going to get the job done. I had no doubt in my mind that Robert Whitaker was going to beat him. Who's another prospect that Benoit Saint-Denis. I thought he was overhyped. I picked Poirier to win that fight, and he won that fight. Everyone was picking Benoit Saint-Denis and said, Poirier's done. Who has Benoit Saint-Denis beat? Number 15. But Diego Lopes, the point I'm trying to make here is Diego Lopes is an actual prospect. Like, the way he's winning is just very, very impressive. It's very, very impressive. The heat he packs in his hands. I don't think Brian Ortega is going to be able to handle it. And I think Brian Ortega is going to get knocked out in the first round. That's honestly my pick. I don't see Brian Ortega winning this. Diego Lopes has good grappling, but I don't think Diego Lopes would want to take it to the ground. I think it'd be a lot smarter for him to keep it standing up because on the ground he's good, yes, but Ortega is also very good. Why go into an area where you're both good when you can keep it standing, and that's an area where you're very good and you pack a lot of power, but Ortega kind of sucks. We saw him, like I said, get dropped like a dead body against Yair Rodriguez. Very, very bad look. So I will pick Diego Lopes by finish, probably in the first round. Now, let's move on to Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Now, listen. I think, and I don't think this is a hot take at all, I think Alex Pereira is going to get this done. Not easily, I'm going to say, but like early, right? I don't see this fight going to like a third round. I see it ending within 2. That's just my opinion. Now, I don't understand how people can pick Jiri Prochazka. People are talking about like, oh, the first fight was an early stoppage and Jiri was coming off of like an injury and a long time out of the octagon. Like, okay, that's cool. But I mean, in this fight, he's coming on short notice after a war with Rakic. Sorry, just cough making me burp. When did that ever happen? I don't know when that update came. Anyways, when we look at both of these fighters, they both fought at UFC 300, and now they've taken this matchup on short notice. Out of these guys, people are talking about Alex Pereira has a toe injury. Okay, bro, he has a toe injury. Jiri Prochazka has a freaking probably brain injury. Jiri Prochazka beat Rakic, but I personally don't think he looked super impressive doing so. Now, I'm going to sound like a hater, but let me finish my point here, okay? He beat Rakic. He came back after like a bad first round. I'm pretty sure he lost the first round. I didn't check the judges' scorecards, but in my eyes, I thought Rakic was winning the fight until he got finished. So I'm pretty sure Rakic got the first round. Anyways, Rakic was lighting up Jiri. He compromised Jiri's leg early. Jiri just does not believe in the calf kick. Like, that's his strategy. His strategy is to not succumb to the propaganda. And he's like, yeah, this stuff is just not real. I'm not going to fall for that. And he'll just eat it and compromise his leg. And he'll eat shots and just rely on his like warrior blood or something like that to keep him standing. What we've learned now is Alex Pereira's power is not comparable to any light heavyweight or any fighter. End of discussion. Jamal Hill, one punch, had him on the ground. One left hook had him done. Sean Strickland, this is middleweight now, but I'm just giving you all these examples. Sean Strickland knocked him out. Who have we seen do Sean Strickland like that since? Sean Strickland lost to Cannonier after that, but Cannonier beat him by decision. And then Sean Strickland whooped Adesanya. Sean Strickland had a very close fight with DDP. DDP never had Strickland looking like that, ever. Alex Pereira is packing some unreal power, and DDP was connecting. He was connecting with head kicks. DDP landed a head kick, I think, in the start of round 3, right on Strickland's chin. Very flush. It was foot, though. It wasn't like the shin. So it was foot on chin connection. Pretty flush. Strickland wasn't really super hurt. Like, obviously, he didn't like it. It's not like he took it and it was like, oh, that was a nice, like, good little feeling. No, obviously, it hurt him. But he wasn't, like, wobbling. He wasn't visibly stunned or backing up. He ate it. Whereas with Pereira, one left hook and Strickland was finished. Alex Pereira has some real touch of death. And to talk about Alex Pereira's first fight with Jiri, we saw Jiri take all those shots from Rakic. He ate a lot of heat from Rakic. Rakic was low-key piecing him up. I picked Rakic to win that fight. I still think that was a very good prediction because Jiri just managed to chat his way through and win. If you picked Jiri to win, it's not based off of logic. It's based off of, oh yeah, Jiri's just going to chat his way through again. Like, dude, on paper and just in the fight, Rakic was like just beating Jiri in every sense of the game until Jiri said, just channeled his, I guess, samurai powers and beat Rakic. So that's a fight that still annoys me because I feel like that prediction was just like amazing, you know, like, but it got taken from me by Jiri and his just samurai Chad blood. Anyways, Jiri Prochazka took one left hook from Pereira and literally levitated in the freaking air. People don't talk about that enough. People talk about early stoppage. Dude, Jiri Prochazka ate a left hook from Pereira and literally started floating in the air and fell down like a cartoon character. And we've seen Jiri eat shots from Rakic. That means, A, there's the openings, by the way. I want to mention that. That means there's these openings on Jiri that a good striker can find. Alex Pereira. There's these openings on Jiri. And number 2, it also shows us that Alex Pereira's power is in a league of its own. If you can take all that heat from Rakic and not, you don't get dropped, you don't really get, super wobbled, like he got hurt, but he never got like super wobbled. He never had like chicken legs. He could eat all that heat from Rakic, stay standing. One left hook from Pereira had him floating in the air. Same story with everyone Pereira fights. Everyone Pereira fights. It's like he has this touch of death and he makes them look like we've never seen them look before. Right? So I do think that Pereira will get this job done. Same kind of game plan as the first time. Leg kicks. Piece him up a bit. Kind of, I guess, measure a bit against Jiri. And then, boom, find the opening. Knock him out. Round 1 or round 2. I feel like I've mentioned this already. But since I'm so tired, I think I forgot. I'm just going to mention it again. And excuse me if I'm repeating myself here. But they both fought on UFC 300. They both are, not in ideal condition. They're both taking on short notice. But Jiri Prochazka is probably the guy in worse condition based off the fact that he went to war with Rakic, whereas Pereira just knocked out Jamal Hill in the first round. And I saw the MMA guru saying that, like, oh, the fact that Jiri's coming off of like a war is better for like his mentality. Dude, he's eating damage in his last fight, a lot of damage, and now he's taking a short notice fight. How is that more ideal than just demolishing your opponent in Jamal Hill in the first round very easily, and then turning around in slightly under ideal conditions? How is taking more damage in your fight a better idea? Like, I don't understand the logic there, right? And people are going to say that, Pereira is probably injured because he didn't make that turnaround to fight on UFC 301, so how is he now ready to fight? Dude, UFC 301 was 3 weeks after UFC 300, okay? We're long past 301 now. 301 was like May 4th. Dude, this is on the brink of July, okay? So stop talking about 301. The brink of July, that means what? We've had like 2 more months, all right? He's probably still slightly injured, okay? Maybe even very injured. I don't even know what's going on with the guy, right? Like, we heard recently that Robert Whittaker had like a emergency surgery before going to Saudi Arabia. So we never know what's going on with these fighters behind the scenes. But yes, he's probably injured still. but like it's a lot. It's the scenario is very different compared to when he was going to make that turnaround for 301, right? Like that was a lot quicker. Now we've had a bit more time, and I think he will be the fresher fighter going into this fight, given that Jiri took a lot more damage in his last fight. I think, like we've seen from Jiri before, Jiri leaves these openings for a good striker to exploit, and especially when that good striker is Alex Pereira, who has power that is just out of this world. I cannot pick Jiri. I'm sorry, I cannot pick Jiri to win this fight. On paper, yeah, Alex Pereira wins this 10 times out of 10 times. But maybe, just maybe, Jiri just channels the energy of the samurai over the next like few days and just unlocks some sort of Super Saiyan new level and knocks out Pereira with like a whooshy finger hold or something. Like he pulls out some move, right? Speaking of which, you guys see Jiri talking about Alex Pereira like does deals with the devil or some shit like that to like be a good striker. I don't freaking know what he said, but some weird shit. If I was to expect that from anyone, it'd be freaking Jiri locking himself in a room for 3 days. Very weird. Anyways, those are my picks for the UFC 303 main card. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree or you disagree. Yeah, so I'm gonna take Pereira by knockout, Lopes by knockout, Smith to win by something. Couldn't give less. Wow, I could not care enough. I couldn't even finish my sentence. I'm gonna take Smith to win by something. Could not care less. And who's the last guy? MVP. I'm going to take him to win by decision. Those are my picks. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time.